Good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you all join us this morning. This is Pastor Brown with another segment of Stories of Hope from the heart of our community. This morning, my guest is John Simpson, who is the Chief Operations Officer at Kalamazoo Gospel Ministries. And John's been just intimately involved with a lot that's been going on here lately as he runs the day-to-day operation of the ministry. We want to give you an update today on all the things that's been going on in regard to the COVID outbreak, how we responded to it, where people went, bringing them back, just the whole thing. And so get yourself a cup of coffee and or turn your radio up if you're driving and enjoy your time with us this morning. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Pastor.
Hey, it's good to have you here, man. There's been a lot going on.
It has been a busy few months, that's for sure.
We've developed I should say we've solidified some of the relationships that we've had with people in the community for a long time.
Yeah.
But now we see those relationships working more intimately together.
Yeah.
And who are some of those organizations?
So, longtime partners, but definitely, through this COVID-19 process have seen, just like you said, a real solidification of that. So United Way has been a great partner. HRI Housing Resources, phenomenal and partner with us. We have just a wonderful relationship with the health department, our local health department, public health, the mayor's office, and the city have been, just tremendous partners with us through this process. And so we're thankful for all of those friends.
Good. And there are a number more. I know there are a lot more organizations that have been on those calls and been supporting all of the work. So tell me a little bit about, for our listening audience, when COVID first broke out, I remember one of the first things that we got from health department and all of that is that we could consider ourselves functioning as a hospital, which I guess basically just we were not being bound by the social distancing and all of that at that point in time. So give me a little bit of that process of what happened.
Yeah. So when it hit and our governor began to place some restrictions on businesses and nonprofits and so forth, because we were a homeless shelter that kind of treated like a hospital. It was a little confusing because we weren't a hospital, but in the sense that we weren't limited in like the number of folks that we could house because as most of our listeners know, we are the major provider of homeless shelter in this county. And so if our doors close, then, we're talking 300 people a night that don't have a place to stay. And so we were able to continue providing overnight services, meal services, and all of those, even though, it started at 100 and then it went down to 50 and then, it was down to 10 and, we needed to be able to provide more than 10, right? And so as that began to roll, those numbers came down. We were able to continue to provide services. But even that, we began to realize as we understood the impact of COVID-19 more and more that we needed to decongregate. That even though we could have, 300 people in our building, it wasn't a wise thing to do.
Well, early on, nobody had a lot of information.
Right.
And I think that I really think if you look at the news now, I really think they're still trying to figure their way through this thing.
Sure.
And so there's still a lot that they don't know. I know that even hospitals now, they've limited the number of people they can have in a particular place or in a particular area. They're checking your forehead and asking you questions when you go in. I know over at Rose Arbor, they up until a few days ago, they could only have one visitor in the room with a patient, and now they've upped that to two. And so we're figuring this out as we go along.
Yeah.
And so how did we manage again? How did we manage to decongregate during that time?
Yeah, so that's when that group of partners that we talked about came together, and we began to talk about, what does that process look like? And HRI, stepped in and said, we're willing to run an emergency shelter, if you will, in a local hotel.
Right.
So they began that process. United Way was helpful in the initial funding of that, supporting that so that we could move quickly rather than waiting for state or federal funding to support that process. And so we began that process of slowly moving, starting with our oldest population and those with health concerns over first, and then moving as many as we could. And so we went from, well over 200 staying with us a night down to about 60, 65, 70 folks a night, which allowed us then to social distance and to, spread people out throughout our facility, and create the space needed for a healthy environment.
Yeah, we were blessed for a long time that after this broke out, we didn't have anybody here that was positive. So when we started finding positive people here, people testing positive, what did we do? How did we respond to that?
Yeah, so there were a lot of things that we did initially. I mean, we began to do health screenings. So when everyone checked in for the night, we're taking temperature, we're asking the questions: do you have a cough? Do you have a fever? Do you have chills? Do you have all of that kind of stuff? And so we began to do that. We began to do sanitation throughout the building on a daily basis. More like every 2 hours, we were going through areas and wiping things down and sanitizing things. We also began to use a new product, like a electrostatic machine that basically wipes the surface clean. So we began using that once a week, and we were paying to have that done every week. And then, the Lord blessed. I don't know if you want to share that story of the Lord's blessing.
Stanley Steamer out of Grand Rapids. We were calling. We had a volunteer calling, trying to find one of those machines that we would buy. It was costing us $400 a week to rent it. And so when we finally found one, the first person I talked to on the phone told me that they didn't know if they would want to sell it. If they did want to sell it, it'd be $3,500. And then after we hung up the phone, he was going to get permission from the owner or see what the owner wanted to do. And after speaking with his owner, he called me back and said, the owner said that he was talking to God about who he could bless today. And so he decided to give us a machine, $3,500 plus the chemical that went with it, plus talk to our guys and give any support so that we could use it. So that was just a blessing, man. And so now we're using that. Yeah. And that's something that we can use anywhere because it's portable. We can use it in any one of our facilities, and we don't have to just stop once COVID is over. We can continue to use it as often as we want. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really, really been great. Just to see that kind of support coming from out of the community as this goes on. Yeah. So so that was so then we had people dispersed. We had people going out to. We had 2 sites, right? Yeah. So we had the initial site, but then all the while, public health was running another hotel that had space. So when we had a positive, we were able to move that person into quarantine at that hotel, and the public health had support from many partners that were there, and so they would go there, spend their 10 to 14 days in quarantine, and then come back either to us or to the other emergency shelter. In the hotel. And so, so there were 2 spots that we were kind of funneling folks through. In addition, I think the other big thing that we did in that process was begin to go to a to-go meal process. We're feeding, close to 500 meals a day. And so, that's a lot of people inside of our building. And so now we've gone to a process and have been in a process for a few months of everything is to go. We are starting to feed our families inside in socially distanced tables and in stages, just because that's a lot easier for a mom with kids or dad with kids to be able to handle that. But
the remaining of our folks are eating, to-go meals, which I just read. You probably read the same thing the other day, that outbreaks are happening. If an outbreak happens in a mission, they're finding it's typically tied to food service.
Okay.
And so where it's rare, but when it does happen, that's where it's happening.
Yeah.
And so it's a blessing that, we were kind of ahead of that curve and are going to-go meals, because that's the recommendation when that happens.
Right. Yeah, well, it's been a blessing, and we've been able to continue to serve hot quality meals.
Yeah.
Just to go.
Yeah.
And now, in the middle of that process, then we started having people test positive, right?
Yeah.
And so, what effect did that have on our cafeteria, meal services, and that?
Yeah, so we actually at one point had to close down our kitchen, made the decision because we had some staff that had tested positive, some that were on quarantine. And so we actually had to kind of pause our food service, which in the end ended up being a blessing for a couple of reasons. One, again, we saw a partner step up, United Way Relief Fund, provided some donations, and then we partnered with Michelle's.
Yeah, Gull Road, yeah.
Yeah, Gull Road, and they were phenomenal. They were doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner and bringing it to us, and then we were handing it out to folks.
Right.
And so that was a great partnership, but it also allowed us then to do a deep clean on both our kitchen facility and our warehouse facility, and really, tighten things up there. I mean, when you're in a ministry that serves meals 365 days a year, like, you don't have a lot of downtime. And so it allowed a deep clean that was just a real help and blessing to our kitchen team. And so we were thankful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and they serve great food too.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the places that group of restaurants. A lot of times when I go out, if I'm preaching around Gull Road or Northern up in Richland, then those are one of the restaurants we go to on Sunday. Great food, great atmosphere, and everything. So get a plug in there for Michelle's and that group. I know it's Treat Street and a few others that are under that umbrella. And so that helped us get through the meal thing, and until we were able to get to that place where we're back doing our own meals now.
Right.
We lost a staff member, not due to COVID, but we lost a key staff member during all of this. They left our ministry and went to another ministry.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
So, I mean, right in the thick of all of that, I mean, that was just another part of the impetus of kind of having to pause the kitchen. We actually called it out of the ministry and said, listen, we're in dire straits, and we have, some great need. And they were more than willing to say, keep him for as long as you need to, get through what you need to get through. And so he stayed on for another couple of weeks to help us through that transition. And then now is blessing that ministry and fruitful in what he's doing up there. But we're just another way that, that God's in the details.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Because Greg Weaver, for those of you who know our kitchen staff, Greg Weaver left Kalamazoo Gospel Ministries. He's up with Mel Trotter now. We're happy to say that we trained him for that position, so we could bless them, and like that. And then right on the heels of him leaving, as it turns out, we had Randy on board. Fully qualified to step right in, and he has stepped right into that position. And so now our kitchen is back to pumping again, and they're putting out great meals. And so again, it's all of this whole partnership that has gone on to make sure that the people that are less fortunate in our community are taken care of.
Yeah.
And so, what do you see? Do you have anything that you can say, during this we learned that, boom?
Yeah, I think, a couple of things. I mean, just the value of collaboration, right, with community partners is huge. We also saw the depth of our team. I mean, when you have almost entire departments, like our women's shelter ministry team and the food service team, I mean, they were down to bare minimum. And so we had, our children's ministry team, who we weren't doing anything with kids. They were diving in, all in to
Yeah.
provide support. Our case managers were going into other departments. Our retail folks were serving in departments that hadn't been. And so what we saw was just a depth of passion for ministry and willing to do whatever it took to be able to meet the needs of the folks that God is bringing to us.
Yeah, I know. I saw Elizabeth out of our health clinic. I saw Elizabeth in a number of different roles during that time, and it was funny. She just sent out an email yesterday saying she's starting to gravitate back to the health department, get ready to get that going again. And so that's going to be really great to have her back over there. But just the way that staff were, would serve anywhere. The other thing for me was, we had staff, once they started testing for positive, they would take their time off, they would go get healed, and they were anxious to get back to work. And I know we had a couple who were, fearful, afraid to be in the environment, but the majority of our staff, man, they just wanted to be here. They felt that this was the place they were supposed to be to serve. Yeah. And so when you start talking about heroes at work, we know that we have a whole staff full of them right here. Yeah. Amen. So, so even now when we're coming out of COVID and we're talking about bringing our numbers back up slowly, we want to be cautious about that. A couple of things. We're getting ready to lose our building, the old building. And so a lot of the space that people thought that we were using, that we've been saying for years that it was uninhabitable. Right. Now those buildings are definitely coming down. So you want to tell everybody when that's happening? Praise
Why
the Lord.
You're giving that to me. I feel privileged that you would do that. But yeah, so we're super excited that we're doing a virtual. I lost the word. Groundbreaking on Friday, July 24th in the afternoon, and a celebration after that. And then a glorious July 27th, Monday, we begin actual demolition of that old building.
Man, I am so looking forward to it. It's been 9 years for me, so I've been, almost half of my time, over half of my time as director here at KGM has been this building project, and I just appreciate, a lot of people say, well, why did you start 9 years ago if God wasn't going to let it happen till now? That's the length of the classroom, I think. I believe that the end is not always what God's trying to do in you. The end is that target that he asks you to do a particular thing, but the process is the classroom that he teaches you and develops you in. Yeah. And so it's been that process that myself and I believe a lot of our staff and even some of our donors, we've learned a lot in this process, and it's brought a lot more people to the table. To learn a lot more about the ministry, and now everybody's excited that it's about to happen. Yeah. The virtual groundbreaking on the 24th is going to be a limited number of people on site, and so even in that area where we're going to do that initial demonstration, is going to be a limited number of people. But then there'll be a little bit larger group that will meet in our men's department about 2:30 on the 24th, and we'll have cake and ice cream for that smaller group. But for the masses, we're going to be videotaping all of this, and you'll see it on our social media right after all of this happens. We're going to have local news will be here to help cover it. So you guys, you all won't miss a whole lot. We're going to try to make sure that you get the bird's eye view of what's going on. And then we can walk through this process together, which is supposed to be about a 13, 14-month process to get that new building up. And so we're excited about that. I know I am. I'm really excited about it. So that's one of the things that's going on. What else we got going on here? We got I know. So in support of our building that's going up, we need another $1 million, a little better than $1 million. And so in an effort to make sure that we get that, we've had a local foundation the Van Domelen Foundation has posted a $575,000 matching gift. And so if you make a donation to this building project between now and December 31st, well, then there will be whatever you donate will be matched. It has to be donated to the Women and Children's Shelter, but that will be a part of that match. Up to $575,000. Now, if you're sitting there with your checkbook in your hand and you're thinking that you can write that $575,000 check, feel free. I give you permission right now. Just go on and write it, and we'll celebrate together. But do what you can to help support that. We're all excited and looking forward to when we can see that new building come to fruition. The other thing, many of you have heard about Dr. Tony Evans is going to be coming to Kalamazoo for a couple of ministry events for Kalamazoo Gospel Ministries. And so there's a website, and it's kingdomfocus2020.org, where it has all the information about him coming. It's been updated now. October 29th and 30th is when he's going to be here. And so the pricing for the dinner and also for the gathering that he's going to be speaking at are all up on the website. And then there's a little extra something for pastors up there. And so go up, check that website out, and see if that's something you want to support. Donations to that event. The cost of the tickets and the cost of the dinner is going to be also be able to be a part of the match. So anyway, we've taken care of that. So all of that stuff that's going on.
And we got some exciting news this morning, right? We can't talk about who.
Oh, we can't talk about who,
what, right?
But we got a $75,000 gift from a local supporter of ours, Family Foundation. We're so blessed, and we know you're probably listening. God bless you, and thank you so much for your generosity and just for thinking about KGM and the vast number of services that we provide and being a partner with us. And so we appreciate that. John, that brings us just about to the close of our time together.
Good stuff.
I really hope that this segment has been informative. If you've got questions, please give us a call. We're still here, 448 North Burdick Street in Kalamazoo, 49007. And our phone number, if you want to give us a call, is 269-345-2974. That's 269-345-2974. John, we're going to do something. I usually pray for my guests, but you're not a guest, you're family. Why don't you pray for our listening audience before we go?
A privilege.
Yeah.
God, you are good. Thank you for a chance this morning to talk about your goodness. You have been faithful to the Kalamazoo Gospel Ministries over the 80-some years we've been in existence, but even more so the last few months in the midst of this pandemic. And God, we are grateful this morning. And we're also grateful, God, for the listening audience, Lord, the folks that are so faithful to support us, your hands and feet that minister to us and to provide volunteer support and financial support to this ministry. God, would you bless them? God, would you lay it upon their heart to continue to be a blessing to us as you see fit? And God, may you multiply that so that we can continue the work that you are calling us to do each and every day here, transforming lives through the power of Christ. And so, God, we give you the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. God bless you all. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you here same time next week. Take care.